Okay, good evening and welcome to the Hanson Board of Selectmen meeting. This meeting is being televised on Whitman Hanson Cable Access Television, and tonight is Tuesday, October 15th, and we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll do public announcements. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Mr. Bloss, may I impose upon you to give us all the lovely updates?
Lovely updates, lovely announcements. A meeting will be held tomorrow night, October 16th, at the middle school, starting at 6:30 p.m., at which residents can learn more from Mass DEP officials about the history of the former Hanover fireworks site, particularly its impact on Hanson, current measures being taken to clean it up, and next steps. Residents are encouraged to attend to ask questions and give input on the Phase 3 remedial action plan before the end of the public comment period on October 25th.
And Mr. Bloss, may I just interject just briefly there? And if people are not able to attend, if you look on the Town of Hanson website, we have put information about how you could email your comments, or how you could, by snail mail, send your comments to Tetra Tech, which is the firm that's doing the cleanup.
Thank you.
Okay.
Recreation events. Cornhole tournament, Saturday, October 26th from 12:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. and the second annual free Halloween extravaganza, Sunday, October 27th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, go to www.officialcampkawani.com. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: 200th Anniversary, Board of Health, Capital Improvement, Cultural Council, Disabilities, Economic Development, Finance, Highway Building Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriotic Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, and Zoning Board Alternate. Applications for appointment and info on the committee is available on the town website, www.hanson-ma.gov. Upcoming meetings are 3 selectmen's meetings: Tuesday, October 22nd, Tuesday, November 5th, and Tuesday, November 19th, all at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mr. Bloss. On to new business. And we are going to discuss the ill-fated Ocean Avenue easement discussion that we had at town meeting, but failed to come to fruition on. And so we've asked Liga Marsh, our town assessor, to be here, and also Mary. Mary, did you want to kick it off and give us some background on this?
Right, that was a septic system that was installed for the property across the street. It was owned by the same owner. When he was installing a septic system at his residence at 62 Ocean Ave, he also owned 51 Ocean Ave, and the Board of Health allowed him to put the 2 septic systems at 62 Ocean Avenue, with the caveat that he issue himself an easement to 62, for 51 to 62.
And do we know what time frame we're talking about that the Board of Health authorized that?
I pulled that plan out, I looked at it, and then I put it back in the file and didn't bring it with me, so I do not have, do you have it, Lee?
I do.
Yeah, okay. So they allowed him to install 2 septic
So
systems
was
on
the
one
septic
lot.
systems were approved by the Board of Health?
They were approved.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a 2005 plan, and I think the septic systems went in 2000.
That's the as-built that you have there, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Their application for the disposal system was in 2004. That was for the one at 61 Ocean Ave. And I think the other one was 2007 for the one at 51 that's across the street.
Okay, so, and it says on that particular plan, a 30-foot septic system easement.
So that was an order of condition
That was on the plan that I had.
for the
I didn't have
plan?
the order of conditions.
Okay, so, but at the time, he owned both pieces of property, so he had to grant himself the easement and go through the proper protocol to do that. And who should have followed up to make sure that that was done?
Well, it seems to me the Board of Health should have had that easement in place before they issued the certificate of compliance,
Okay,
And it was not.
and it was not done.
okay,
So then, the town ends up taking 62. The bank, he lost the bank, lost 51 to the bank, which the bank took it over. They subsequently sold it,
okay,
with the septic system being across the street, and Mr. Anderson, the owner, would not give an easement to the new property owner who bought it from the bank.
okay,
So then Mr. Anderson doesn't pay his taxes, and we end up taking his property over. So now we have 2 septic systems at 62. But I did not realize until Lee told me this morning that actually where the smaller septic system is for 51, it's actually a separate lot, which I did not realize.
okay, so just to be clear, we've got the town owning one of these lots right now. Okay, which lot?
62. But
60,
do we own the small lot that 51 septic system is on?
It was combined, Dean Anderson owned three lots,
Okay.
30 by 80 lots.
okay,
And then, so he bought those in 97. Then he bought 2 more 30 by 80 lots in 2000. And those were combined for billing. They're still separate lots, but they were combined for billing. So then now there's that septic system on one of those 2 lots that was combined for billing. So you could pull that lot right out of there. You could pull that lot right off of 62.
okay, so we could separate the lots?
Yes.
Okay. Who would do that?
Tom Constantine.
You just have a
Mr.
deed
Block.
on and recorded.
And we could say it's, would we need a deed if it's a separate lot, even though
Well,
it's?
it's probably been conveyed as a single parcel as well, but separate descriptions. I don't know, we'd have to pull it out.
Because we took it. We took the 2 lots
So
for
if you could
billing
show me,
purposes.
you have the prior deed, because your
Yes.
takings deed, your tax title takings deed doesn't have a description technically. A meets and bounds description, if you know what I mean. But
So this is the 2000, year 2000, when he bought 2 lots, 2 30 by 80 lots.
comprising lots 16 and 17 on a plan. Oh, so it's sufficiently described as
Right.
separate lots. The question becomes when he merged it for assessing purposes only, or did he get approval from planning or whatever to make the lots a single lot?
I went up and talked to Bob Curran about it,
Yeah.
and he said that they were just merged for same ownership, so
Yeah.
that there would be
Yeah,
one
because
tax bill.
when they're substandard lots anyway, they're contiguous.
Yes.
Then they merge for the purposes of zoning regardless. So then if you're kind of demerging them, it might take a subdivision too, depending.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and do a title search, but you could do it on an A&R, not a subdivision, I take it back, an A&R,
Okay,
which would be easy enough to do. But that's the most that would have to happen. And then the other lot, whether it be 16 or 17, has nothing on it.
No, so that could stay with 62 Ocean Ave. There are a lot of people interested in 62 Ocean Ave for parking mostly, but it's not unusual that we see some of these lots come up for auction, and then whoever buys it does their due diligence. They go in front of zoning to get a
And this all comes up
variance,
and-
and
Yep.
a house appears on it.
oh,
So you're better off to get this lot
Move
away
the
from
septic
it
system off of it.
and approach the gentleman whose septic system is about buying it.
Yeah.
So he has that lot for a septic system, and he can also park there if need
okay,
be.
so this is a lot to unpack, as they say. So, I'm wondering how we move this forward. Who is going to have the next to-do on this? How are we going to get this solved? So that when we do go to auction as the town, we've got it all packaged nicely, we've got the easement situation wrapped up, and we can just move forward.
Well, if we can deed to ourselves the separate lot. Can we separate the lot that the smaller septic system on?
If they've been merged, you may have to do an A&R.
Okay,
plan, even
so we
though you
do-
own it yourself.
Right, Right, so we do a Form A subdivision of that.
So who,
To
we
ourselves.
have Deb do that?
No, we would have, Kate
Kate.
could do that. Right, we would need an engineered plan, though.
Yeah, we need an engineered plan.
Okay.
That would be $1,500 or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so what I'm hearing you say is you're gonna work with Kate to get an engineered plan and an A&R, then we're gonna move that forward,
Right,
and,
and then we'll have 2 separate lots that we can add to the auction list.
okay, great.
And and both of them would come with septic systems. Right, 62 would come with a septic system, and then the smaller lot would have a septic
And
system
will
on
we
it.
be bringing the article back to town meeting to grant the easement?
No, because we won't be
Because we'll have
granting.
separated the
We
whole
would have
thing.
separated the parcels, and we'll be selling lots, so there won't be any easements, we're just gonna sell it.
Great.
The tax title doesn't go through town meeting.
The only one that has the value to that lot is the guy who's, like, you're not gonna sell that lot.
Right, that's what my question was too.
Yeah.
So that guy's septic, do you wanna put that up for auction, or do you wanna determine the value to sell
That's,
it?
if
have
you're
Because if
doing it through tax title, you
have
have
to.
to do it like that.
Ah.
But the only problem is, the result that could happen is some.
somebody else buys that
who
septic,
dislikes
and then he
or
can't do
thinks
anything
they
with that
can
house.
take advantage, or,
That's where you're going.
He's already living, the guy is living in the house with the septic system across the way. He lives in 51 and the septic system is over there. And I think that's where the controversy came up for town meeting, like, what, why are you gonna give somebody an easement on town-owned property? He doesn't even have to pay taxes on it.
yeah. That's
Yes.
exactly right.
So, Kate, is there a way to do it?
Because that really should have already been, excuse me, Jim, sorry, that should have already been done with the previous owner.
Correct,
Yes.
yes.
And that's what I said at town meeting. I said he was supposed to record an easement and just never did.
All right, so in the interest of time, now that we've kind of discussed this all, can we ask you to take this away, think about it,
Yep,
and come back with the best way to handle, you know what we're looking for,
yeah.
right?
The safest way to protect the landowners whose fault it really is not.
Absolutely.
And yet to protect the town as well. Whether it be an
Yeah, right.
easement or some sort of RFP. or
Protect the town and then
pass it
also
on.
optimize our ability to sell things that,
And obviously,
yeah.
yeah. 100%.
Okay, good.
okay,
Thank
so
you.
keep all of those priorities in mind when coming up with your
It's all up here.
solution.
Good thing I had coffee.
All right, anybody else have any other questions on that matter? All right, thank you, Lee, we appreciate it, thank you. Mr. Hassett, we know you love your podium, so we've got the podium all ready for you.
Wherever you like.
No, we'd love you up at the podium, please, feel free. So, thank you for coming, and you're gonna give us an update, a quarterly update, which we always look forward to.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight, I just wanted to review briefly with the board the results of the first quarter of the fiscal year, which is typically the least exciting quarter, if you will. You have a 4-page handout, a page for each of our operating funds that we appropriate to. And I would point out to the board that a week ago at special town meeting, the meeting did appropriate a number of adjustments to various budgets, as you know. So the second quarter report will show the full original budget to include both the May town meeting and last week's special. And it will show a perfectly balanced budget. And it will tie to the tax rate, which we've prepared, Lee and I, and you'll be discussing at the hearing next week to set the FY20 tax rate. So just very quickly, I know you have a busy schedule tonight. I just want to highlight a few things for the board. In general, everything is doing well through the first quarter. There are no concerns that I feel I need to raise to the board at this time. Of course, the winter's yet to come, and that's always or often challenging for us financially. But in terms of the general fund, the first page, I would just point out to you, you'll notice the budget column shows about $132,000 of unexpended available funds. Last week at the special town meeting appropriated 122 of this, mostly through our budget supplement article, Article 2. And so when you look at the tax rate with Lee next week at the hearing, you'll see that there's unused tax levy of just over $10,000 on the LA5 form, which is something that the board has to vote and sign next week. So again, when I bring you this for the second quarter, that column will be perfectly balanced based on how the tax rate is set next week. For the most part, our free cash appropriations, which are at the bottom, the other budgetary items, are to fund capital or one-time expenditures. The only exception we had last week at the special is we used $150,000, you'll recall, to pay off the balance of the septic system loan at Camp Kawani. Second page, the water fund. Again, at the special, they did have a couple of additional capital items voted last week that are not reflected here. What's interesting, and I know I've sort of highlighted this to the board in prior reports, you'll notice their actual revenue is very modest as compared to being 25% of the way through the year. And that, as you'll recall, is because of their current billing cycle, which is semi-annual. So we haven't seen the first big push. Certainly with the new meter system that's almost fully installed through town, they should have the ability to change the frequency. So for cash flow purposes, we're not necessarily subsidizing the operation on the front end of the year. So, we may want them to consider quarterly billing, for example, or just changing the cycles up so that the cash flow matches, the cash inflow matches their cash outflow.
Todd, can you drill down a little bit on what you're just saying there? Now, I've always believed that the water was
Self-supporting?
Yes, and you just said so that we're not
Yes.
fronting money, and that just kind of triggered me a little.
Sure. So they are a self-funding operation over the course of the year. But the point I just wanted to remind the board is that based on the way their billing cycle works for their major billings, we see a billing in November and a billing in May, essentially. So from July 1st to November or December until we collect those, they're essentially working off their existing equity and their existing cash, which fortunately is good right now, but in tighter times, we would essentially be subsidizing them during the year until the revenue came in.
I don't think we want to do that.
No.
No,
I'm sorry, Todd.
Yes,
You had
no.
mentioned about talking to them about going
Yes,
quarterly. Now,
yes.
Is that a suggestion that you would make to them?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. And as I say, they're almost done with their new meter program installation. I think once that's done and then the reading is more automated, it's not, I forget, Jerry told us the first reading they did was incredibly quick compared to what the manpower they use to have to invest
Right.
around town to read
So
meters.
I would assume you present this to them as well at one of their meetings, and
I don't attend their meetings.
okay, all right.
I typically work with the superintendent and the staff, but,
Okay. well, so I think the board.
But I'm happy to
Do you guys agree
pursue
we'd
it.
like him to pursue the quarterly billing?
Yeah, it's the same thing as what they did with the property tax a couple of years ago.
correct.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. It's a good
It's
example.
actually easier for people,
Yes.
but I do agree, you have to wait until all the meters, because they need to be
Yeah.
able to have the automatic
Yeah,
readings.
yeah.
Yeah, but if he has the discussion now, then they
Yeah,
can be
no,
ready
absolutely.
for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, alternately, sometimes communities still stay with semi-annual billing, but they divide the community into either quarters or segments.
Right,
and
right.
then, this part of town is read in February and August, and the next part is read in April and September. So that way the cash flow sort of levels out. But I would think with this new system, they've got some better options to help the overall town
All right, well,
cash
thanks for
flow.
bringing that up. That was
And this,
interesting.
am I wrong? This still sounds like an okay option, except starting July 1st, we still wouldn't get any revenue until August. So it'd still be front-ended.
That could very well be, much like with property tax, the first month, our first quarter is
But at
due
least
August
it's not
1st. But it's not until November or
several
December.
months of fronting it.
Right.
But it's front-ended by their own revenue. We're not-
Yes,
it's not
yeah, I
from
mean,
us.
they're in a position where they're able to cover, it's not like this fund has
Right
a
now they are.
deficit
but-
cash position,
Yeah.
but in the future it could.
Yeah,
As things may get tighter. The third page of your handout relates to Camp Kawani, the recreation enterprise, which is going well. We did have town meeting last week under Article 3, I believe, supplement and sort of true up their expenditure budget, primarily salaries, and a modest amount to their indirect costs. What I would point out to the board that under other revenue, toward the top of the exhibit, there's a budget of about just over $26,000. This is typically a budget that's around $1,000, and
is this
This
the
re-
Netflix?
this is Netflix.
All right, good,
So this is saving the day, if you will, for this year.
yeah.
It's one time. I don't think we're going into the film business, although it would be great. So just pointing out to the board, this we're in good shape budget-wise at this point with this operation, but that revenue won't necessarily be there next year as a recurring source. Bless you.
Bless you.
And we also have funded their overall operations to a modest amount. We had a modest tax subsidy voted last week. With the votes of town meeting, they have very little retained earnings balance for the rest of this year leading into the annual town meeting. So that sort of sets up, as well as the next page, sets up the potential for more of a general fund subsidy. The last page relates to our solid waste program. And again, Article 4, last week, the town approved amending the transfer station salaries and a modest amount to expenses. So as we know, the salary amount will carry us through the year, business as usual at the transfer station. What we don't know yet is what the impact on the solid waste disposal costs are going to be. The contracts are up in November, and the Board of Health is working on that. So they had asked town meeting to add $15,000 to their expense line. That may be a pittance compared to what the rate changes may be, but just sort of as a caution. We'll know more in a month or so. And again, we did a town meeting voted a $21,000 general fund subsidy, as well as the use of substantial use of their retained earnings. So they've got a very, like recreation, have a very modest amount of retained earnings or free cash for their specific funds left to get through the year or to be available to appropriate for FY21. So good news in terms of this year. Next year is already shaping up to be quite challenging from a financial budget standpoint. As I say, we're prepared to bring the tax rate to the board next week, which is earlier than usual. Our financial audit has been completed. We're just waiting for the Plymouth County audit report to be available to fold in our share of the pension liability into our report. So our report's been sitting on hold for a month or so. I know Mary is prepared to start on the FY21 budget and capital plan, I think as early as next week.
Yes.
So, and what am I forgetting in terms of an update for the board?
Aside from the ever-present burning question of the school assessment,
Yes.
is there anything else giving you heartburn?
No.
Okay.
No, we just recognize that we'll likely have subsidies for solid waste and recreation, and that will sort of dip into our available funds for all of the other town departments. So I suspect it's going to be a challenging year, irrespective of the school issue.
Okay. Guys, anything else?
I just had one other quick thing for the board. We are in the process of putting together a bond sale for the town, primarily for water projects, for the tank repair that happened a couple of years ago, for the main replacements and the new meter program. But also at the same time, we're taking advantage of this issuance opportunity to look at refinancing the balance of the police station project. which will have a savings for taxpayers because that was a debt excluded project at the time. So we're looking at potential, favorable savings there for the remainder of that. And we've got a credit rating call with Moody's the last week of October, and the sale should be taking place in mid-November. So you'll be hearing from the treasurer about that, but just as a preview. Again, primarily water projects, but we're going to refinance the police station. There's an
Great.
opportunity to
Yep.
reduce rates. Okay.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Okay, next up, we have vote and approve the agreement with the Lakeville Dog Shelter. And everybody's got the agreement in their packet. Now, Mary, can you refresh my memory? Is Lakeville also our animal control officer?
No.
Who is our
Our animal control officer's name is Mary Drake. She lives in Whitman.
Okay,
She can bring the dogs down to Lakeville, and they charge us for boarding. I haven't seen any real bills. I don't think
quite
she-
a hike.
But that's as close as we can get. They
Okay.
didn't, Whitman was having their own issues, so Lakeville was willing, and other communities, I think Halifax goes down to Lakeville now as well, so.
Okay. Is there anything that we should know, or?
Nope, it's the same contract as we had last year. And again, I haven't seen any bills come through them.
Okay, did anybody have any questions? Matt?
So I asked this question last year, and I got the answer offline. And my question was, what about the cats?
You
And
did
are there
ask
any
that,
animals? And I guess our animal officer takes the cats home out of her own pocket and out of the kindness of her heart. So thank you very much to her for having
Well,
a
I
big
do
heart.
thank her, but I'm wondering, is that a sustainable model?
No.
Because we may not always have Mary Drake as our animal control officer who's willing to take cats home.
But I believe she finds owners for them.
But still. So is that the norm? That there's no shelters for the cats and just the dogs, or?
Well, I know there's a shelter in Hanover, the last resort. She always takes in cats. That's all she does. So I'll check with Mary and see what else she does with the cats. But
Okay.
Mary usually finds homes for them.
Okay,
Yeah, we can have-
you did ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say we could probably take the cats in here at Town Hall.
Sure. That would cause no controversy whatsoever. It's an excellent idea.
Fantastic.
Any other discussion on that? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, and moving right along. Did you guys see the list of donations? We've got quite a few. I will entertain a motion, and I will read them because we are required to do that. We've got an anniversary, 200th anniversary gift for $29.12. I assume it's really actually just.
That's really just the interest. The ones that are Xed off
Okay.
are standard ones that we get
Okay.
that aren't really gifts.
We've got the cultural grant, which Mrs. Gamache worked to get us for the Wampanoag exhibit of $500. We've got the Summer Dare program for $14.70, Summer Dare program for $110, and then a $15 for gift for A Keys Printing for the 200th anniversary. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Flipping right along. Let's see. We've got Megan Malisi, Cub Scout Pack 34, request to use McQuon School parking lot on May 2nd, 2020. Did anybody have any questions about that?
Only asking what it's for. And no.
Actually, that's strange.
That's touch.
That touch a truck.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We've got a different one than I do.
Isn't it touch a truck?
No, that's fine, it's just, he's got a number 5 that's completely different than what I've got, but we're just gonna move upward and onward.
Because they updated it.
Yeah, okay, so I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Great, do you have anything else on there I don't have?
Well, just Troop 68.
Oh, Troop 68
I'm sure
is
they get that.
asking to use the town green for a pumpkin fundraiser, and do we have a date on that, Mary?
It's this weekend.
Okay.
They were kind of a late arrival.
Yeah, okay. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
And that's from 9 to 3, both days.
You can have mine.
Pumpkin fundraiser, that's great. Okay, and we've got a resignation from Conservation and Energy Committee effective 10/24/25 rather, for Michael DeVive, and I've slaughtered your name,
DeVera?
DeVere, okay. I apologize. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, with regret.
Yep.
Thank you, Kenny. All in favor? Okay, I hope we get some people to apply for that. Mary, we're gonna get that out there on the website and
Yes.
rally the troops. Okay, and then we've got election workers, the appointment of election workers, Bruce and Marjorie Young, 594 Indian Head Street, for a term to expire 6/30/20. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, fantastic. As you know, we have got a Board of Health vacancy due to Mr. Amato's resignation several weeks ago. I can't remember the exact date, but within the last month or so. And we really haven't gotten any pool of applicants. We only have one application. And so the chairman of the Board of Health had asked if it would be possible to extend that. And just to remind you guys, this is a vacancy that we jointly will be appointing because it's an elected position, but of course the election isn't going to be happening until May, so we need an interim vacancy to be filled. So I didn't think it would be a particular problem to extend it to the 21st, so that essentially we'll be talking about it at our next meeting, and hopefully we'll have some more people. I reached out to several different groups and said, could you please tell your troops, this is an important position. I mean, we're down a health agent right now, and now we're down a Board of Health, member. And this is a critical, board. And although we're not responsible for it directly, it's an separately elected board, I get a little concerned when we've got the board that's responsible for the transfer station, public communicable health disease, and all of this other stuff, and we've only got two people doing it with no agent. So this is my plea to everybody in the audience. If you've got any health background or just even a desire to help out, please fill out an application. You can go on the Town of Hanson website, and under employment, you'll see volunteer opportunities, and there's an application you can fill out for that. And that goes for any of the committee and board openings that we've got. Okay, that is my passionate plea for the evening. And with that, we will move on to the town administrator's report. Mrs. Marini.
Well, since I was on vacation, and I had a very nice vacation, thank you, I want to thank Greer for holding down the fort and handling town meeting with no
Well done,
problems.
by the way.
Well done.
Well done.
It was-
Thank you. Yeah.
It was very good. I've got a couple of things that I have to check on since I was out. One of them is I want to get in touch with Civic Plus, which is really virtual town hall. They sent me an email saying they want to do a sit-down to go over the tracking software.
Oh, great.
So I'll get back to them and set something up. I have a call into MRI. They had called just to give me an update, and we haven't connected yet. But they received 39 applications, and they were narrowing them down to either 12 or 15. They were sending essay questions out. So I will send you an email on that and let you know.
I can't think it's amazing we got 39 applicants for the town administrator position. I'm thrilled. I can't wait to see
Yes.
what we end up with. It's going to be great.
Yes, I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. But he just wants to, check in and find out what our, next steps are, where we're gonna move forward to. So I'll be able to give you a better update next week after I talk to Buzz.
And how is our interim town highway surveyor doing?
He is doing well. He is out this week. He had told me when he
Yeah.
offered to do it that there were 2 weeks he had already had vacation scheduled, but things are going well. He checked in with me before I went on vacation, and once he gets back. But he's received a great reception from the staff and from the two chiefs, and so he'll come in. I was just being off last week. I thought he may be able to come to our department head meeting, but we'll bring him into the next department head meeting. And so far, we've had 3 applications for the highway surveyor's position, And
What's our deadline on
the
that?
deadline is Friday,
Okay,
so we'll see if we can get some more. But I did, we put it out there, it was on the MMA, put it in the newspaper, and I did send the posting to area town administrators to have them share it with their staff.
okay, that's great.
that's
And
very good.
we heard back from Ryan, who told me that he's working on the Facebook pages. And, but what he's trying to work on is functionality of linking updates that people do on the town website to automatically post to Facebook, and of course, have no commenting, because
Correct.
that would really lead to some tragic results. So, he's working on
working
that,
on
and I just thought it was important the board knew we're making progress.
Right, it would be really helpful had we had this in place for the events for tomorrow night to get it out there, but, you know, we have him 2 days a week, so he's got a lot of things going on, but he has started moving forward with the fiber project, now that we got the money for Camp Kawani, so that's gonna start moving along nicely, and that will have a huge impact on all the departments, once we.
And I have to give kudos to Greer, not just was she, you know, amazing, and very composed at town meeting, but we also threw a little, you know, ticking time bomb her way and said, hey, could you organize
Push
getting
this
the Mass
together.
DEP meeting for next Wednesday? And could you reach out to Cutler and Brady and get somebody to moderate and get it out there in the newspaper and on cable? And I don't even think I gave you a breather from town meeting to the next day. I think I was like,
That was just fine.
but so she's
No problem.
done amazing,
Yes, I
yeah.
had, cell service out of the Grand Canyon is not great.
which is good for you.
Wi-Fi does not happen. But when I got home on Monday, I went through and saw the emails and checked up on some stuff. And it's like, good job. You know, I saw everything being thrown
Yeah.
at her, and everything fell into place. So I was thrilled. I was very comfortable being on vacation.
Yeah, well, and as well you should be. She handled everything with, you know, with the skill of an expert, so it was great. We did miss you,
Okay, well, it's nice to.
but we're glad you had a good vacation.
And that's all I have.
Okay, we have got minutes for September 17th and October 1st. We've got both regular and executive session minutes. I assume we're not releasing executive session, but we're approving them. Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I have one correction
Yes.
for September 17th minutes.
Okay, hold on.
Down in the committee reports for the Plymouth County Hospital, it said I was meeting with the engineer. I was actually, where we were having a committee meeting the next day. I wasn't meeting with the engineer.
It's been corrected, that's
Oh.
why it shows revised on
Oh,
your
okay.
revised agenda.
Thank you, Claire.
Okay, so you've already tweaked that?
I have.
Okay, great. Any other modifications or questions? Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. We are just whizzing through here. All right, let's see. So that brings us to committee reports. And we've got 20 minutes, so draw your committee reports out. Give us a great deal of detail. Seriously, though, the 200th anniversary committee, I mean, you guys know everything that's going on. Audrey was here, she gave us an update. We still continue to work with the Matakesa tribe, who came to our 200th anniversary committee meeting about a month and a half ago or so. It's pretty exciting. I have connected them with Representative Cutler. I've also connected them with the Hanson Historical Commission and the Hanson Historical Society in the hopes that they will become part of our history going forward, because they have been part of it, obviously, in the past. But maybe we haven't really focused on telling their story as part of our story. So we perhaps could improve on that, and that's kind of what we're looking for. They're in the process of filming a documentary, and they just were in Hanson and Pembroke yesterday, going around with a gentleman who is, I guess, extremely famous for doing documentaries, but it was lost on me. And they're going to be telling their story. One of the things that we've talked about is how do we incorporate the Matakesa into the 200th anniversary celebrations. And one of the things we've talked to Chief Chief Wampanoquin about is perhaps showcasing the documentary at a dinner and having something like that so that it could be educational, informative, and, people wouldn't feel intimidated about asking questions, and we could kind of get that dialogue going. We also are talking to Representative Cutler about potentially having some type of a proclamation done that would acknowledge that they were in fact the indigenous tribe, in this area. Their story, and I have asked them at some point, our agenda is quite full now, and it's not a subject that you can give short shrift to, but I have asked them, I thought as a formality, to have their tribe come to our tribe, if you will, and us, and talk to us and talk about where they're at, what they've done. They've done a tremendous amount of genealogical research. They're making connections with people over in England to talk about some of the history. They're just all over the place. They've got a lot of making up for lost time in terms of establishing their presence in the area, and the fact that the Wampanoag are not the only tribe that was here. In fact, they weren't even really indigenous to this area. And then, in fact, it was the Matakeesit. So we're working on that. Don't know what exactly it's going to look like, but we're getting there. We're also working on a number of fantastic events for the 200th. One of them will be for the kickoff in February. Again, this would be a plead for anybody that is so inclined. We would love to have you be part of our planning committee for our kickoff event. I believe it's February 20th of 2020. That we haven't decided where we're going to have it. We haven't decided the theme, but we know we're having the kickoff. So we reach out to myself or Marcus Lynn on Facebook, and you can be part of our team. And with that, I will kick it over to you, Mr. Dyer, because we'd love to hear about the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee.
So there's no updates from last time, which was receiving the plans from land planning to show the topography, the true topography after taking down the hospital. We're meeting tomorrow afternoon to kind of start going over rough placement of what we want where, and kind of start doing the first draft of the layout up there. So tomorrow's meeting should be an interesting one. Hopefully we can kind of get everything done before the 6:30 DEP meeting.
Yeah. I'm sorry to throw that little monkey wrench at you.
No worries.
We really had to do that all based on their availability. And when the Mass DEP says they can make themselves available, you kind of have to take note. And McQuon School Reuse Committee, I think time to get back on that. And we had talked about revitalizing and incorporating town department heads and that type of thing. So I'd really like to have something in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, I had sent an email out to, I believe I had Lee and Todd. Deb was on it. Teresa Santalucia got back to me through housing. We can all, sit down and chat. And I had notified Keller Williams that, I wasn't going to get that meeting done before I left.
Yeah.
So we'll get that back on the table
Okay, good.
for everybody.
Great. Highway Building Committee, Ken?
I don't have much, but we are meeting tomorrow. Well, I posted a meeting, but the engineer's gonna be coming, talking to some of the highway guys and some people in town.
Okay.
So he's gonna be there from like 11 to 3. I'll be there, not the whole time, but like I said, I did post just in case, everyone's there
So
at
what
the
are you
same
guys
time.
going over tomorrow?
So we'll be going over the actual plan as far as how many garage doors we need, where offices gonna be, how many offices you need, and just fine tuning the actual plan that we
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get some input from the highway guys, which they haven't really, had any input.
Yeah.
And then we'll get Kurt involved when he comes back. But we'll just keep moving on, and then they've got to bring somebody else back with the engineer probably in 2 weeks once they kind of fine tune it, and then we'll get back to our list that I mentioned last week.
All right, well, that would be exciting to hear how that goes. And here we are at 15
Could we have a brief recess?
prior to the hour, so we can have
Yeah.
a recess. Carol, I'm going to have a recess, and we'll be back at 8 o'clock, okay? Thank you.
We can sign these while we're breaking.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a marijuana cultivator license hearing with Impressed LLC, I'm just going to read the hearing notice. The Board of Selectmen will hold a hearing on Tuesday, October 15th, 2019, at 8 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at the Hanson Town Hall on the application of Shaharam Magdaham, owner of Impressed LLC, for a marijuana cultivator's license. Premises to be licensed is located at 15 Commercial Way, Hanson, and described as follows. Property consists of office brick front, 15,075 square foot steel frame industrial building with concrete foundation consisting of 13,573 square feet of warehouse space, 2 loading docks with 2 entrances and 5 exits. Okay, so we will open up the hearing. And Kate, can you walk us through what the...
A motion to open the hearing.
Oh, so, okay, so I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Right, so this is a public hearing on a license, and this license is akin to a liquor license, but for marijuana cultivation. It's renewable annually, and it's based on the rules and regulations that you recently adopted 2-3 months ago. So this is distinct and apart from the special permit license, which would have to be applied for by Impressed, which is more of a land use kind of approval, which would have engineering plans that you would go through. At that time, they're going to present an odor plan, and all of those other the physical components of the building would be discussed at that hearing. Again, this is just similar to a liquor license hearing to operate within the town.
Okay, and so at that particular hearing, we'll hear about the plans for water, the plans for disposing of any refuse, both liquid and hard, solid. Plants. We'll also hear about security measures and all that type of thing that we had questions about, and we incorporated into the community host agreement, but we'll dive a little bit deeper on that.
Right, so it's more of the technical details about the building and the operation itself, including the HVAC systems and all those. They'll have an engineer, which they'll present. We'll have peer review. So again, this is more of an opportunity just to talk about the business. You can, of course, ask them about the operation, no problem. But the other review is much more technical.
Okay. I did have one question in reading through. It seems as though, at least my understanding of this is that, and I'm eventually going to learn how to pronounce this man's name correctly since I'm going to have to keep saying it. Sharam.
For doctor.
Yes. He purchased that property and under the Green Trust Realty, I believe. Green Gold, okay. And that makes sense. And then he's leasing that property to Impressed LLC. I just want to make sure that I'm connecting the dots on who is what. Okay,
That's correct.
Yes.
okay. Okay.
And it's not unusual to have several corporations with different purposes.
No, I get that. I just, hadn't anticipated that. So, but I get it because of the corporate structure of each one of them. Did anybody have any questions about the materials that we received?
No, but but that wasn't the question. Good Laura. I was like, am I clear on who owns, who's leasing, who's the sub landlord? As I read through it, I mean, I thought I had it. So okay.
Now, Mary, you reviewed this, and Kate, you reviewed it to make sure that it was that they've got all the documentation that we require on our
Yes, it's all set.
license application. Okay.
Yep,
It had a checklist, which makes it so much easier.
it does.
You know, and they put it together nicely, listed as exhibits. Although the bullets on the second page of the application, which is where the board will be signing, they aren't lettered, but each one of the exhibits are lettered. and the appropriate documentation is filed behind the exhibit number, letter.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions? Did you guys want to say anything or make any
We're
comments?
happy to be here, and we're receptive to any questions you have for us, and hopefully our answers on the next meeting will suffice for your all engineering and wastewaters and all that, so.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, that's really where the rubber meets the road in terms of satisfying some of the concerns of our constituents. Will be around that type of thing, environmental impact, odor, and as I said, disposal and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping you guys can be, thoroughly prepared to present those plans so that everybody can get a comfort level. I know you've verbally represented what you're planning on doing, and I'm sure that that's going to be the same as what you actually
This plan
did.
is what we're committed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Right, essentially, this license is really kind of because you've met the company, right? You've decided you want to partner with them in this kind of venture into this new industry. So essentially, this license is really a prophylactic measure should things go awry, because you can say, okay, there's a problem, whether it be small or large. You can say, hey, we're going to bring you in to have a compliance meeting should something occur. The special permit process is really where you drill down and dig into the technical aspects, but it's just much more difficult to bring someone in on a compliance issue if it's based on a condition of a special permit. It's a little bit different. So here you can chat if need be. So this is really just, you've already signed off on the company at this point. They're fresh in your mind. It's for the future if something were to arise.
Okay,
So I just have a couple of questions.
go for it.
So the board signs this. Where does this go from here? Do we, with a liquor license, I send it to the ABCC?
It doesn't go anywhere because this is a creature purely of local creation.
Okay.
Unlike the ABCC, which has a statutory authority to issue licenses, this is something we created through our bylaws and does not exist in 94G. So it doesn't exist in all communities across Massachusetts. Hanson is more protective of its residents in some respect, in my mind. I shouldn't say that. You're fine, other communities. But this is just another layer of protection that you all have decided to implement, but it's purely on a local level. So you keep it with the town clerk's office, and you can create a file for your office as well.
Okay. And we always issue a certificate-style license. Would they get something similar to that?
Yeah, you can create it yourself. It'll
Okay.
just say, from this period through, I think our license goes through December 31st, right? It mirrors the.
Okay, so in this case, it would go through December 31st of
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
do the renewals.
They would be part of the renewal process that we do for liquor licenses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for
Which
notification.
according to your regs, don't require the hearing, so you.
Right, it's just the annual renewal that we do.
Exactly right, exactly right.
And so we've got insurance information, we've got information from William Galvin's office regarding the LLC, and all of that good stuff. Bonds, all of that stuff. How do we, where is it in terms of the Cannabis Control Commission taking a look at this? At what point do they?
So these folks, I don't know if
We
they've
submitted-
applied yet.
we
You
submitted
did?
our
Okay.
application, yep.
So the step that they needed from us prior to submitting was the host community
Yes,
agreement, which
yeah.
we executed. Once they have that certificate, which we executed, they could submit. They did, and now they're in the queue. So in the queue right now is a little bit long. So you're probably looking at 8 months to get through that process.
Okay.
In the meantime, once their engineering is done, they can come back to you anytime and submit for the special permit. That can go in tandem with their application process here. That final CCC license could not issue without the special permit.
Okay, now, is there a time constraint on when we must talk to them about the special permit? Is there a timing requirement on that?
Just from when they submit their application.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't want a constructive approval, but yeah.
They submit their application to the Cannabis Control Commission?
No, no,
Or to us?
to us.
Okay.
They've submitted, their application to the Cannabis Control Commission's already been done for their provisional license. They can submit to us anytime between now and, they can even get their provisional license first. Submit their application to us anytime between now and then.
Okay,
They just
and then
can't get their final license.
after they
without it.
submit their application, what kind of turnaround time do we need to have the
So.
hearing for
it-
the special permit?
Oh, now you're calling me on something that I'd have to look back on, but there's a certain number of days, you have to post again in the newspaper 2 successive weeks, 14 days before the hearing. You have hearings until you're satisfied, you have a peer review with your engineer, similar to, what was that we were dealing, oh, it was with the light control property, we had the engineer peer review and however long that takes. And usually that process is actually pretty complicated because they've already had their engineer figure out what they're going to present. The numbers have been crunched, all of that, but then it takes our engineer some time to review that. And then he'll present to, he or she will present to you all whether or not he's satisfied or whether or not there need to be modifications. They'll work together with the engineer. It can take a few months.
Okay, so we obviously can't have the special permit hearing until our engineers kick the tires on what their engineer has put together.
Typically, they apply and you open up the hearing and then it gets delayed during the peer review
Okay.
process.
Or,
Yeah.
okay, I know that's got nothing to do with tonight's hearing, but I just wanted to make sure that we all knew what the next steps were and everybody was kind of, and Mary, did you have other questions?
So do we actually give them a physical license now after they've approved it? So they'll actually hold a license and then they have to go on to the next step of the special permit?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Just one quick one. Are you guys able to renovate the building?
Bless you.
Or do you have to wait?
You have to wait for the provisional license first.
You have to wait from the provisional license
Yep.
before you can do anything?
We did start the demolition already, so we've cleaned out the building pretty much right now, so.
Okay. So it'll be a while before they're actually up and running.
Up and running, you're looking 2 years.
Really?
We hope not that long.
Oh,
We're
Kidding. I don't like
June of
I don't like
2020.
that answer either.
I mean, I guess that was gonna be my question. You guys knew going into this.
It's gonna be a
I mean, because we've already been talking to you guys, it seems like, I know, forever, but it's been about 6 months anyways. So by the time the whole thing comes, you know, go all the way to the end, it is pretty close to 3 years.
It's a process, yeah.
The whole process from, okay. And you obviously knew this, so you have the patience. Yeah, that's great.
We have no choice.
to some
Yep.
extent, they're lucky they're owners. As a matter of sheer fact, in one of my other towns, there was an economic empowerment group that were trying to site there. And as soon as they mentioned, because they need a location to submit to the town, and as soon as you mention marijuana, apparently the rents go up by 4 times, you know, the amount of the going rate. So it's proving to be a difficult process. And that's all during, they pay for rent during the entire negotiation
Yeah.
process of the host
Yeah.
community agreement. It's a little bit difficult.
It's
but
kind of
anyway.
sad that they see us as a cannabis company and they raise their prices by 30% from everybody, every modality of thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go slow and find the right people to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's important.
it is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the marijuana cultivator license for Impressed LLC? Okay, great.
I would like to make a motion to exit the hearing.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Okay, great. Thank you. I will also entertain a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Appreciate it, folks.